number 2. And we are live and back and better than ever. What's up, Bri?
What's going on?
I'm so happy to be here. So happy to just be enjoying life.
You know why?
What's that?
You know why?
Tell me.
It's National Cheesesteak Day.
If only I knew these things before I had a salad for dinner, would have gone a long way.
If you had a salad for dinner, by the time the show's over, you'll be ready to eat a cheesecake.
A cheesecake or a cheesesteak?
Steak. My mouth said the wrong thing.
Okay, because I also love cheese. Don't get me wrong. I love cheesecake.
On a cheesesteak.
So it's National Cheesesteak Day. It's also, I'm wearing the colors. Roll Tide, my friend, as the Alabama has made it to the Sweet 16 in men's, and the ladies are also still playing.
I don't see how that's any excuse.
Yes. This goes well, I think, with my Gator helmet. So between my Gator helmet and my Alabama shirt, I am like a train wreck. Like I'm everybody's worst nightmare. But my kids and my money go there, so you know how that goes. So good for them. And again, we're just happy y'all. We've been off for 2 weeks. We're happy that y'all are back. We've got a fun hour set up for you. I haven't talked to Brian in 2 weeks, so I miss him. I'm sure you miss him. So we've got some fun stuff to talk about today. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let me find the old. Oh, here we go.
Hey! There's the logo.
Sorry. Told you. I apologize. In advance for not having mine ready to go. Hey, tell me about spring break from where you are at. We might not have as many viewers or listeners tonight because of spring break. So people are out vacationing, at least here in Alabama. How about you?
Yeah, our spring break happens next week.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to it. I'm going to be working. I'm going to be taking that off. Usually we do. And, in years past, we have been traveling down to Florida usually for spring break. And the girls really miss getting a chance to do that and see our families. And, we're hoping that we're heading toward the end of this
of the pandemic.
At least that it's going to be tapering off, and it'll be nice to be able to travel soon.
I spent speaking of traveling, I'm the opposite where I do travel. So we were at Walt Disney World for the past 5 days, and I've got some stories to share about masks and things. We'll talk about that during the Daily Disney, what I experienced there. And for those of you who are watching live, thank you for being here. Give us the thumbs up, give us the hearts, put in comments where you're watching from so we can be a part of that. Of course, we've got the game show coming up later. We've got the Daily Disney. I've got the leadership article of the week. We're just going to talk all things leadership and kind of give you some fun things to think about as you build your professional network, you grow yourself, you grow in the organization, all the things that you're doing. So we just appreciate that. And if you're listening on the recording, again, because you're on spring break or whatever, glad to have you as well. So Brian, you got some good stories for us?
I do. Let's do it.
All right. Okay, dude, we got to do it. Okay. Hey, Brian, you got some good stories for us?
I do. Let's get into it. And
nice.
I like the check marks you got. The check in the box there.
Checks in the box, man. We are ready and raring to go. To dump. Leading off with Brian. Photos, courtesy CNN and Instagram today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Today. Let's start with our first story is actually a follow-up to a story that we talked about several weeks ago. Do you remember Jen Ellis, Pete? She was the Vermont teacher whose cute and comfy mittens got heaps of attention back when Bernie Sanders wore them at the.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
I do.
that photo of Bernie went viral, and
Where is that? Hang on, I got it here. There it is.
they
There it
were
is.
replacing Bernie in all kinds of situations. But there was a huge demand for these mittens that he's wearing. But they were kind of one of a kind homemade mittens that were gifted to him by one of his constituents, a teacher there in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
There was this huge demand, and she responded and said, "Listen, I'm a full-time teacher. I don't have time to make all of you suckers a bunch of mittens."
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm happy to report that Mitten Madness is not over.
If you can see this picture, this is a picture of Mitten Mania Madness Melancholy Gone Mesquite.
Hey,
Yeah, I don't know.
marvelous.
My magnificent man of many. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
Anyway, Jen Ellis reconsidered, and she partnered with Vermont Teddy Bear to sell Bernie mittens. But the catch is the proceeds will be donated to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation there in Vermont.
Outstanding.
So she taught the company's designers how to replicate her patterns, and the whole process is local there to Vermont and sustainable. And she said the whole mitten whirlwind has just kind of reminded her why she created them in the first place. She said, when you give of yourself, if you give of your kindness and your time, that comes back to you as joy.
Let me see. We're seeing more and more of this. Always looking for bright sides of the pandemic from a leadership point of view. Have we become more giving? Have we become more patient? Have we become better at looking out for our fellow human beings during this time? Some people may say, well, you're cooped up. What else are you going to do? And I don't know. I'm just seeing more and more stories like this of people just being a little more, I don't know, open.
Respond to the, whatever the situation is. And unfortunately, the stories, we hear tend to be, kind of polarized. I feel like there are a lot of more stories of people going out of their way, but maybe they don't get quite as much press attention as the ones where people are jerks.
Yes. More on that later.
Foreshadowing.
All right. Thank goodness we start the day with all these stories, because they put a smile on my face. Now, because we GameStop and we won't stop. I think that was a song.
I don't know.
I believe. Wasn't it?
I didn't recognize it when you sang it.
Nobody does. All right. If anybody wants to put in comments, was there a song? Because we can't stop and we won't. I thought there was a song. I could be wrong on that.
Won't stop.
GameStop.
So we all heard about this GameStop rally that a bunch of guys on Reddit, guys and gals on Reddit that caused a big kerfuffle there on Wall Street.
Quite the kerfuffle.
There was some cahootery going on.
I don't have any more K's, because that would be crazy with a K.
But one guy, after making thousands of dollars off of GameStop stock, this 20-year-old college student used his newfound riches to pay it forward to a local children's hospital.
All right. So is this the picture you want me to? Let's see. Let's start there. Is that him?
Yeah. This is.
Okay.
Am I pointing the right way? No.
There you go.
Yeah. This is Hunter Kahn. He's a mechanical engineering student at Cornell University, and Hunter donated multiple Nintendo Switch consoles and games. Get it? It's tied in. To Children's Minnesota Hospital there in Minneapolis after cashing out almost $30,000 in GameStop stock. This college student.
Wow.
He said he is donating a portion of his newfound fortune to help kids at a local hospital feel better, and it makes him feel better than waking up to a bunch of monetary gain. So the hospital said that patients are already using the donations, and Hunter says there's no group of people more deserving of receiving a bunch of video games than some kids who are going through a hard time.
Amen. You're not kidding. Now you also sent me a photo of with a graphic or something on it, with a tweet or something. You want me to? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, this is Nathan and a buddy of his that are they're bringing it over to the Nintendo Switches over to the hospital. So
okay,
yeah.
I am proud to announce my humble donation of 6 Nintendo Switches and games. Can't stop, won't stop. See, he knows the song.
Can't stop, won't stop. GameStop.
I think GameStop. That is so awesome. Because again, 30 grand, you start thinking to yourself, what could I do? I could buy a car. I could do this. I could do that. And again, he probably, getting 6 of these Switches and consoles and games isn't going to take a whole lot. It's only maybe a couple $1,000, but he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that.
It was just over $2,000. And
good job. Good job to him. All right. What about Girl Scout cookies?
Speaking of some kids who are kind of smiling through a hard time, this is one troop of Girl Scouts over in Iowa, in Council Bluffs, Iowa. They were given the goal of selling more than 1,000 boxes of cookies. And so the girls put on their sashes and got to work, flexing their entrepreneurial skills.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to have to spell entrepreneurial, but I'll say it.
It's very engaging of you to do that.
There you go. Alliteration.
Is awesome and amazing when you think about it.
By the end of February, these girls, they're in troop 64-224 of Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Yes.
They got their goal of selling 1,000 boxes, but they by the end of February had sold over 5,000 boxes of cookies.
Let's go.
Nearing their sales goal for 2021, and all of this is in spite of one large obstacle that they had to overcome, and
what might that be?
The girls in this Girl Scout troop live in an emergency homeless shelter known as Micah House. And that certainly didn't stop them. They also met another goal of selling to customers in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. So their Girl Scout troop size fluctuates depending on the number of families who are living at the shelter. And these young girls are ages 5 to 8 years old. They're not only thrilled about being Girl Scouts, but by setting lofty goals and surpassing them.
Wow.
So, all the money from their cookie sales stays local and goes towards activities for, the Girl Scouts, such as field trips and whatnot.
Did you ever see that Office episode where I think somebody was selling Girl Scout cookies? I think it was Oscar or somebody, or maybe it was Toby. And they went to Kevin, and Kevin's like, I can buy 30 boxes. And I think about that. That's a lot. 5,000?
Yeah.
5,000 boxes by this troop. That's unbelievable.
There was a funny story a couple of years ago here when Colorado had been one of the first states to legalize marijuana for recreational use. A bunch of the local Girl Scout troops set up tables outside of the dispensaries and just made a mint, they keep the cookies in stock.
They made a thin mint. Oh my word. That's a Samoa crazy. I can't think of any others. What else is there? There's a lemon wedge. Lemon wedge. Yeah. All right. Seriously, in the comments, can someone please just comment for us your favorite flavor of Girl Scout cookies? That'll help us because we literally are stuck on thin mints and can't go anywhere else. So, Brian, what you're telling us here from a leadership point of view is we've got a guy who won a lot of money and he decided to give it back by going to GameStop and helping kids. We got Girl Scouts who may live in some type of homeless shelter and they still beat their goal and sold and provided to others. And we've got someone who's providing mittens to people and couldn't do it, but found the way to partner with a large organization and get these mittens out to needed people.
Benefit Make-A-Wish, yeah.
To benefit Make-A-Wish Foundation, which of course we're working at Disney, how many of the wishes are to go to Disney. And they partner, of course, with Give Kids the World, hashtag not a sponsor, and our buddy Neil McCord down there at Give Kids the World. And absolutely. Kathleen loves s'more flavored. How about that?
I think that's a new one in the last.
That might be a new one. Tagalongs. That's what I couldn't remember, Erica. Tagalongs. Absolutely. Oh man, I love good stories
It's
because
thin mints in our house and Samoas, but here's the trick: you take the thin mints and you keep them in the freezer.
yeah,
They last
yeah,
longer and they're more delicious that way.
yeah. There was a time pre New Year's resolution where I could put away a sleeve
Oh yeah.
of Thin Mints
Oh, a nice,
without even blinking.
an
Yeah,
entire box.
yeah. Oh, you can do a box
If you were,
of Thin Mint. I could probably just do a Thin Mint probably, but yeah, it is great to have that. Sherry's a big fan of the tag-alongs. Jonathan loves the tag-alongs. Dosey Does.
oh, I
That's
don't
what we're
remember.
talking about. Yeah, but Thin Mints, man, you're the man. All right, thanks, buddy. Let's go ahead and get to the leadership article of the week. And I got a little twist on it today for you, buddy. You're going to appreciate this.
Okay.
It takes a long time to come out of that. I didn't remember to click the button. It takes a long time to come out of that. Hey, let's do a leadership book of the week. All right, let's do a leadership book of the week. I just finished a mastermind group at my work, and we have been reading, and we were just finishing up next week as our last time to meet. You ever heard of No Ego, Brian, by Cy Wakeman?
Of course.
Have you? Have you read it?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I mean, you
But I'm intrigued. So
yeah. Yeah. The
solid.
subtitle, my friend, is How Leaders Can Cut the Cost of Workplace Drama, End Entitlement, and Drive Big Results. And the whole thing is really about how you got to cut through the ego. And this book is, I got to be careful how I say this, but I'm a relationship-based leader, and I'm always like, how can I help you? And how can I be there for you? And what can I do to help you grow? And all these things. And this is saying a lot of times you've got to, well, what can you do for your career? What are you trying to do to move ahead? Because again, we're spoon feeding people and their egos are getting in the way. Anyhow, but there's a great section in here about change. And let me tell you what she says about change. This is so cool. It says change management is so 20th century and change management needs to die. We need to focus on business readiness instead. So all the stuff about who moved my cheese and all the regular training we do about freeze, unfreeze, all that stuff that still exists in some of our training classes, she's saying it's not change is going to happen regardless. Change is out there no matter what. We need to focus on this whole concept of business readiness. So she gave us 4 myths about change. And so if you're a leader, if you're a manager, if you're a supervisor in here, I need y'all to be thinking about this. This is going to help you when you get back to the workplace tomorrow and the next day, whether you're remote like my buddy Brian or whether you're hybrid or in person. So let's go ahead and walk through some of these and I'll share my thoughts, Brian, and get your thoughts as well. The first myth, is change is hard. Change is hard. So we have put this into our employees' minds with the words that we use. And we say things like, oh man, this change is going to be tough. And I'm hanging in there with you. And we've got to put a new system in place. We've got to put a new process in place. And I know it's going to be tough for you, but we need to stop doing that as leaders. We need to say change is part of our culture, especially with COVID. If COVID has taught us anything, it's that we're going to be changing constantly, everything from our processes to how we do training classes, to how we hire people, to how we interview. And so it's not hard. It's not hard, Brian. We've proven that we can do stuff over Zoom. We've proven that we can pivot and change things that we do. But we stand out there as leaders and kind of coddle people by saying, yeah, we know change is hard and all that. And she says, stop doing that. Change is only painful for those people who attach their happiness to a mythical set of circumstances. And I love that. So do you have a feeling in your organization that people think that change is hard, or have they bought in? And go ahead and put in the comments as well. Do you think change is hard, or do you think that we oversell that sometimes and change isn't as hard as we make it out to be? What are your thoughts, buddy?
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree with this one. Change.
You think change is hard?
Change isn't impossible, but I think people, individuals, employees, customers and businesses have a difficult time with change. Uh, it's not impossible, but if you're talking about just changing a business process due to this pandemic, there might be. I think maybe what the author's trying to say is, suck it up, Buttercup. We all need to just do this and
Yeah,
get through it.
yeah.
Coming
That's where she's driving, because what she's saying is people respond to change in two ways. Let's just stop with all the BS. Two ways people respond to change. One is a sense of excitement. People roll up their sleeves, they dig in, what's new, what's different, and they figure out ways to work with the change. The second way is people put up a wall of resistance. They spend precious work hours expressing their shock, their dismay. They complain about the direction their company is taking. They attack the intelligence of those who are driving it. They whine and complain and moan and spiral down. So she's saying those people don't need to think that way, and that's our fault as leaders for letting them do that. You need to welcome change.
We don't control how our employees think. We control how we respond to that. And it's our job as leaders to help get people through the change. And quite frankly, that's not always easy. So
right. No, and
sometimes change is hard.
Right.
I'm not saying that it's not necessary. And it's inevitable, and we all need to suck it up, Buttercup, and get through it. But that doesn't mean it's easy.
You got to read this book. You're going to love it. If you've got a team that you work with, you're going to love it, because here's her second myth, my friend. People need time to grieve change. So for some reason, she says these 5 stages of grief have been attached to change: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And, she says, seriously, do you need time to grieve because you've got a new software program coming in? Do you need time to grieve because you've been assigned to sit at a different desk that doesn't face the window? Most changes we experience at work are about everyday improvements. And employees who are always ready are aware, willing, and able. And those that aren't stand back and say, I'm going to need time to adapt to this. I'm going to need time. She said, you don't need time to adapt to it. Change is here. Move on. Thoughts?
So what if the change is not just a new software, but we're laying off half of your department, but we
that's
what's happening right now. We're going to lay off half your department, but we expect the numbers to be the same or improve. And it's like our friend Kathleen Oshab just said, it depends on what the impact of the change is.
Yeah. I jumped ahead to chapter 6 here. Chapters 1, 2, and 3, she spends a lot of time talking about employee readiness and talking about, do we even have the right people in the right jobs to welcome change, type of thing. So that's kind of where she's going. So I tend to buy into this one. Think about all the time we spend with people who say, I'm going to need a week to process this. I need a few days off because I got to do this. We have business outcomes to produce. So do you really need time?
Yeah.
This one's big. We can't handle so much change. Another one of her myths. We can't handle it. We think our employees can't handle change. She says the marketplace is always going to be changing, and resistance comes from people who are fearful of being exposed as unready. It's an ego-driven response. I don't like this. Make it stop. Why is this happening to me? And she says that as leaders, instead of asking, how can we make this change easier for you? We should be asking, how can we build your skill set to make you better at adapting to change? Think about that dichotomy. How can I help you through this change? How can I make this change easier versus how can I help you get the skills and abilities that you need to accept change?
Yeah, because
I don't do that. I'm always trying to make my employees feel better, and how can I help? And this book is again, it's all about changing that out and just putting the onus back on them.
Yeah. I know I was kind of resistant to the first two, but I agree with the author on this one.
Okay.
I think we as leaders need to have more of a yes, we can attitude to that.
Yeah.
That, again, it doesn't mean that this change is going to be easy, but sure, we can handle it, and we will. And like you said, how can I give you the tools to be able to do that?
And the last one she says, buddy, is a myth. We can control the pace of change. I think we've learned right now that we can't. So when our employees try to say, well, slow this down, instead of a 2-week rollout, can you give us a 4-week rollout and slow this down? We can't control it. I mean, when stuff is coming downhill, when systems go down, when a pandemic hits, when all these things happen, we can't control that. And so people who see change as an inside job see themselves as a victim. But businesses don't have the luxury to slow down change just because their employees want it. If they want to stay competitive, they have to stop worrying about whether their employees are comfortable with the pace of change and instead drive their development that gives them the abilities to make the change work for the business. And again, I sort of live in this category. I mean, I'm always trying, because we're built on relationship-based leadership and servant leadership and what can I do for you? And I'm trying to find the happy medium with my group. And we had really good discussions on this book, every chapter, about, how can I be that relationship-based leader, but also, like you say, have kind of a suck it up buttercup mentality, which is if I keep coddling you and all this, you're not going to grow and develop and you're just going to complain about everything.
There's correlations, aren't there, to parenting here? Where you talk about corporate leadership or family leadership.
Sure.
Where, listen, I love all you guys, whether you're my employees or you're my, you're my children, but, this, we have to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I had a leader at Disney who was good at this. And would say, I get it. This isn't going to be easy. This isn't hard. This is the most popular change, but we're doing it and we have to do it. And I'm here to help you get, to the other side on that.
Hey, this is a big corporate initiative when we were at Disney, but remember when all of the cast member cafeterias got outsourced? And so instead of cast members serving cast members and cooking in all the employee cafeterias, it got outsourced to a third party. Those people got reassigned new jobs and they had somebody else now cooking. And there was a big deal and how dare they do this? And this isn't right. And it should be cast taking care of cast and all that. And then we ended up making really good friends with some of the new chefs and cooks that came through and learned about them. So we made a big deal about this change. And the reality is everybody got different jobs and no one lost a job and it all sort of worked out. But that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen. Outsourcing is going to happen. Things are going to happen.
I don't think there's anybody listening to this podcast who would be shocked and surprised by the fact that you and I made friends with all the food service workers.
Can you put an extra slice of cheese on it? I know that's raw. Can you grill up the onions? Is there any chance you can grill? Can I get a slice of avocado? I know it's not included in the price, but
what can you make me?
What can you make? Yeah. Make me something different. And then, of course, Debbie says, I remember someone behind the counter having neck tattoos. Sure, not quite Disney look, and that's where we have to deal with the change of all that stuff that's. I know. All right. Well, again, be thinking about that. If you're interested in, again, challenging the way that you think and trying to minimize no ego, how to minimize workplace drama. Thanks to Cy Wakeman. We'll tag her in this and let her know that we talked about her and that Brian disagreed with her number 1 and number 2, which is always the sign of a good leader.
The other ones. So
like the other ones. Yeah. Love it, buddy. All right. Hey, I think it's game show time. Only if I have a video.
It's game show.
So world famous, nationally known, almost internationally known if that guy from India ever comes back on again. Leadership, statistics, game show where you play along and you get a bell like this. It's leadership and laughs. No, what is it?
It's over under.
It's over and under. Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So that's a great intro. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to rock a microphone.
Oh, you get stupid. I mean, outrageous.
The rest of the hour is going to be us just. Okay. Here's how over and under works. If you watched this before, I'm going to present Pete and all of you with a few interesting and timely statistics that revolve around leadership in one way or another. And y'all are going to have to decide if the actual number is over or under the line that I set. So Pete's hearing these for the first time.
Correct.
We have not cheated. He's going to try to go 3 for 3. We want you guys to go 3 for 3 as well. And we encourage you to play along. So feel free to play along live by chatting in your answers as we try to guess over or under.
Let's do it.
All right. So March is National Women's History Month. So we're continuing to delve into some of the interesting findings that I found in the 2020 Women in the Workplace report. This is a report that's conducted annually by McKinsey & Company and leanin.org.
Is that Shearson Lehman?
Lean In.
Oh, I thought it was Shearson Lehman Brothers.
Org. It's actually the largest comprehensive study of the state of women in corporate America. More than 40,000 employees of all organizational levels were surveyed on their workplace experiences. And without further ado, let's get into the numbers.
And again, make these very easy for me, because if I get them wrong, my wife is watching and I'll be sleeping on the couch.
Well, the good news is, while these do come out of the 2020 workplace Women in the Workplace report, this really has more to do with steps that companies have taken to help their employees during COVID-19. Now, last time we were together, we talked about women in leadership who are experiencing burnout because perhaps they're taking on more responsibilities during COVID, not only at their job, but also at home, as kids are home with, being homeschooled and online learning and all that. This sort of goes to that. So we know that a lot of companies have taken steps to help their employees during COVID-19, including sharing valuable information and expanding their support services.
Okay.
So with that in mind, what percentage of companies have started or have expanded providing parenting or homeschooling resources during the pandemic? You want to take it right off the bat, or you want me to give you the over-under line?
I'm going to ask for a clarifying question first. When you say homeschooling resources, do you have information on what that is, or is it just a single line item?
It's a single line item. It's kind of a big umbrella. It could be several different things. The point is, you have kids at home now. Your company is now providing some sort of parenting resources or homeschooling resources. And
that could be anything from books to tutors to maybe some flex time to this to that.
Right.
I know.
And this companies that have either started that or expanded it under COVID.
Okay. All right. I'm in. I'm ready. Give it to me.
Over or under 40%?
Over. 100% over. It's got to be over, because I'm seeing it where I work. Only because, and that's why I asked about if it was a line item. If it was just we're providing tutors, or if it was just we're giving out pens, or we're signing families up for LinkedIn Learning, I say it might be. But if it's going to include things like flex time and working from home and anything we can put out there to help you. I know we're doing this where I work. We have so many of our employees who have kids at home. And if they're working hybrid, or they're in school, they're back, I would think it's got to be above 40. The number in my mind, you said, what was my number? I was going to go 48. That's where I was starting at. So I think companies are doing this and buying into this. Now, I must be an idiot, because my wife says, she says under. Debbie Schwartz McGinley is under. Jonathan, working at the firehouse tonight, taking a break. Appreciate you. Actually, you're working probably. So he's going with the under. That's what we've got tonight, buddy. Everybody except me is taking the under.
Pete, you get the bell. Not only is it over, but you almost nailed it. It's 46%. You said 48.
This is why I'm a leadership author and speaker. Come on, people.
It's 46%. So
nice.
I don't think that probably contains people who said, all right, you can work from home, because that was happening anyway. That's not specifically a parenting or homeschooling resource. I was actually surprised. I'm with everybody else. I would have thought under. It was interesting to note that, yeah, I like her. I like her and her answer.
Yeah.
Um,
Based on the definition of the line. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. And KP went over. Okay.
KP's with you. Yeah, 18% said that they maintained what they were already doing before COVID, which is interesting. I didn't realize that 18% of the companies surveyed were offering parenting and homeschooling resources prior to needing to do that during COVID.
And this is something, Brian, I think leaders are going to have to continue with. Yes, even now, we've got schools that are saying here in Birmingham, in Alabama, most of our schools, because we're Alabama, have been open for a while. Our employees or our kids have been going to school for a while. Some are in hybrid, but most are now back in a while. But as we continue, we're going to see a lot more of this possible homeschool, possible hybrid. And if employers just stand back and go, well, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. You're bound to lose good employees to competitors who are saying, we'll flex with you, we'll work with you, we understand the issues. And some of these kids may also have special needs or health needs or whatever. So there's all kinds of things companies need to be aware of. So I see that continuing to grow. And the companies that don't provide those types of things are gonna lose some quality employees, in my mind.
It's not what has traditionally been one of the benefits that you look for, to go to a new company, but it's going to be needed.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, what percentage of companies said that they significantly changed their performance review process during the pandemic? I'm going to get.
Did you throw in significantly, or is that part of the actual?
I probably threw that in.
What percentage of organizations changed their performance appraisal process
during the pandemic?
Okay.
Maybe I was trying to get you, or I was just ad-libbing.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to talk through two different sides of my mouth here. One is we're not changing everything for 1 year. We're not changing everything for 1 year. We've got a process. It's in place. We're using it. Maybe we'll flex some of the numbers where, if we're given percentages of raises or incomes, or maybe we don't tie the performance appraisal to your raise this year. But on the other side, I also see us sitting back going, we got to change this thing. We can't, I have no idea what to rate people on. I haven't seen them. We've changed the goals. We've changed the outcomes. So if change involves either a small change or even doing away with it this year or whatever, I'm going to say it's probably high. So Sherry's already said 83%. What number are you going to throw out there?
All right. So, in a previous episode of Leadership and Laughs, we talked about how there was a significant amount of companies and organizations that either canceled or significantly changed their employee satisfaction surveys.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about performance review processes.
Correct.
So I'll give you a hint, Sherry. You're a little high there. Is it over or under 40% have changed their performance review process during the pandemic? Sherry's high, Terry's low.
Somewhere in the middle, we meet. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go lazy old school management on this. I'm going to go with, we don't got time. We don't got effort. We don't have HR. We're so busy dealing with everything else. We're going to keep it the way it is. And of course, we'll give some grace in there, but we're not going to do a big change. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to say it's under 40%. Terry's also taken the under. Kathleen, thank you for going on the under. Jonathan thinks a lot of organizations are changing because of that. Hey, Logan thinks people are going to change their performance appraisals. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Appreciate you. Terry, I'd like to think that they would do it, but I think it's low. All right. So we got a mix on this, buddy.
The bell goes to the unders. 40%, but only by a little. It's 37%, which kind of did surprise me. I might have gone with Logan if I was guessing and said over.
Well,
Over and
okay. Sherry, I need a comment on this. Type in, because again, in your mind, you're like, if organizations are not making changes this year to their performance appraisal, it's just not right. It's just not fair, because you said almost 80%. And they, there's a line of reasoning that I agree with that. Why aren't we making that shift? But I also look back to all the things that are on people's plates, either in HR or frontline management or anything like that, and going, listen, do it the way you've always done it, but give them a little bit of grace. Don't grade them as hard, all that kind of stuff. 37, you said?
I would have 37%. Yeah, I would have thought it was somewhere up near 83 as well. But I wonder if, our performance goals for the year are set by January, and this pandemic didn't really hit. We didn't know the full impact of it until March.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's part of it. But still, I think you got to stay water and flex
just
where needed.
Where you can. I think many didn't formally change their system, but they aren't going to follow the current process. Yeah, that could be part of it. Just giving a lot of grace. Okay. All right. One more, man. Dude, if I finish 3 for 3, what do I win?
You win a mug.
A Leadership and Laughs mug? Are you kidding me?
But when I say you, not our listeners. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the last one. What percentage of companies, Pete, have started or expanded, again, providing personal well-being and enrichment programs during the pandemic? Yeah. Again, I'm setting the line at 40%, over or under.
Yeah, and that's going to be over, not by much, but I say those phrases again.
I read the actual question. What percentage of companies have started or expanded providing personal well-being and enrichment programs during the pandemic?
I'm going to include EAP programs. I'm going to include behavioral health programs. I'm going to include time management and stress management and all that in there. I think that has been an easy thing for companies to do. So, we hang up flyers for our EAP program. We know you all are going through a lot. That may be not a lot, but it's something over 40%. So most of the people, again, are going over.
You see what I'm saying? Not that they did it previously. They have either started them or expanded on what they had previously.
Okay. I'm still sticking with it. You can try to use your little Brian magic and word things to make me go low, but it's not going to happen. Everyone's going over.
Everybody's going over. That's because it's way over. It's 63%. I thought I'd throw you a curveball, but you knocked it out of the park. 63% started or expanded providing personal well-being and enrichment programs, and then 28% said that they maintained, like you were saying, they maintained their EAP and what they were doing before the COVID, but 63% actually expanded it.
I would love to see some numbers on small business versus large business, to see, if you've got a small organization, you may not even still be in business right now. You may be struggling more than the big companies. And are you able to provide all these things for your employees, like more EAP programs and more at-home programs? Or are you just like, I don't have any capacity to kind of do that? Very interesting. Hey, this was a good one tonight. If you got 3 for 3, like me, real Tad, put that in the comments. Say I'm 3 for 3. I'm just like Pete. That makes you a winner tonight. Hey, are there more of these for next week, or are we done with women in the workplace?
I don't know. We might be done.
We'll see. We'll take it out for a spin.
We'll see.
See what's up. All right, man. Hey, gosh, that's the best part of my day. Almost as good as the Daily Disney, my friend. Let's finish up strong with this. Every time I look at those pictures, dude, we're getting younger and younger every week.
And yet,
it's horrifying. Oh, hold on. Drop my glasses.
Uh-oh. Here, I'll take mine off.
Drop my readers. I'm back. I'm back. All right. Okay. So, Brian, guess who took a road trip? Congratulations. And that's a magic number. So I took my biannual road trip to Disney World this past weekend. I know there's a lot of people out there who do not do travel. Say I'm not traveling now, and I mock people who do travel. Well, mock me because I travel and seen. We're going to restaurants, we're traveling, we're wearing masks, we're being as safe as we can, but we want to experience what's going on out there. I call it research. I like to see what other organizations are doing during this time. So we were down there, had a great time, stayed at Disney Saratoga Springs for a couple nights, stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge for a couple nights, enjoyed some Epcot, enjoyed some Magic Kingdom, and really had a good time. I'm not going to debrief the entire trip like I did last time where I showed all the safety measures that are in place, but let me just tell you this, specifically about the mask policy. There is zero room for interpretation when you are a guest at Walt Disney World right now on the mask policy. You literally can't get on a bus without the bus driver telling you to pull it over your nose. You can't walk through a shop. We were in line at Peter Pan. There had to be a little 3-year-old boy next to us. And the woman who was there in the queue line was telling him, hey, little guy, got to keep that over your nose. And he went around the corner for the queue and came back, and it was already under his nose. And this time she said, Mom, I need you to look at him and make sure, and there's also a rule that you cannot walk through the park and eat and drink at the same time. If you're going to eat and drink and take your mask off, even to sip, you've got to be stationary. Yeah. And we saw people all the time, kids who had these little Orange Bird sippers who were going through the theme parks, and they had their mask down in the stroller while the parents are pushing them. And I kid you not, a cast member walks up and says, I'm sorry, ma'am. So I want to let you know, if they're drinking, you have to be stationary. You can't have them. I mean, I can't tell you how well trained the people are, how much they've been told this is a non-negotiable thing that you enforce. We've even heard that they're stopping attractions. We were on the land boat ride. I'm sorry, Living with the Land attraction. And while we were on there, we were going through the greenhouse, and you heard over the loudspeakers, please be advised your mask must be above your nose and your mouth at all times while on the attraction. Thank you. And I've heard that they're stopping the attractions, certain ones, because they were having cameras. So it's a non-negotiable. Okay, it's there. Just found out there's a famous person called Joey Badass. Oh. And he has, I saw this on Instagram today. He has a child who has autism. Not a child. He has somebody in his family who has autism. So 30 of them went down to Disney and went into Epcot or tried to go in. They would not let him in because the child with autism would not leave their mask on. Now, you and I have had this conversation, I think, in one of our earlier podcasts. We talked about, or live streams, there was a child going to a Disney store in Canada or something, and the child wouldn't leave the mask on. They had to ask her, I'm sorry, your child can't come into the store. Unless you're under 2, you have to wear a mask. Now, you can debate the science behind it all you want. You can debate whether it's right or wrong. You can debate whether you should force people with disabilities to have to wear masks. Those are all up for debate. But what Disney is doing is being consistent. And you cannot come in if you do not have a mask on. So this gentleman was turned away from Epcot. I want to share his little, because everybody's got to film everything afterwards. So let me share this, and I want to get some of your comments and get your thoughts as well, buddy, on what you think about this here. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this.
Head of security, right? Disney World, correct? Security manager. I think he's the head of security. That's what you're telling me. Cameron, what's your position? I'm a vacation planner. Vacation planner. And then Catlin, what's your position? Vacation planner. And you guys just turned away an autistic child from Disney World. That's what you guys just did. An autistic child. That's what you guys just did. You guys have anything to say about that? Nothing? Nothing. And your brother is autistic. That's what you said, right? So imagine your little brother being turned away from Disney World. How would that make you feel? Because that's what you just did to the small child and his mother and the whole family. That's what you just did. Nothing to say? Maybe one day when you have kids, you'll understand, Cameron. Maybe you'll understand.
Now, I want to give 100% props to these cast members. I mean, this happens more than you think. It doesn't always get filmed, but it happens a lot. In fact, there was a fight with a security host and a guest a couple months ago because of the mask policy. And I empathize with the guest. I do. I've got a special needs kid. He can't keep his mask on. 30 of us are here for a big celebration. So I can empathize. But my struggle is if Disney does not do this consistently, they may not be open. If there's a COVID outbreak. So what's your thoughts on how the cast members handled it and the consistency of the policy?
Yeah, there's really no there's no winning that debate when this jerk is like I also empathize with a family who is turned away because of something that they can't control. But there's, first of all, just from a customer service perspective, and as leaders, we need to understand that you don't stand there and yell at the frontline employee who's telling you this, because they're not setting the policy.
Right.
They don't have the authority to say, it's okay, I'll make an exception just for you because you're a famous guy, or your nephew has autism, or like, I get it, sure, why not? There's no reason to sit there and berate these people and put them on blast on social media with their first and last names. If I was the employee, I would not have given my last name.
Yes.
I think that was probably a mistake they made, and just not having been coached through that already. But there's no reason to do what that guy did. It is. We're in this thing together. Disney didn't set out in the middle of 2017 and decide to make sure that autistic kids can't come in if they're not wearing a mask. This is a necessary evil of running the business. Yes, you don't get to decide. And quite frankly, we've seen a lot of these type of videos from different businesses, whether it's Costco or a Walmart or wherever. And, again, not only just somebody with autism, which, certainly pulls at your heartstrings, but people who just, I don't want to wear this. And I feel like I should be able to come into your store no matter what your policies are.
Yeah. First of all, like I said, there's some things, again, that, when you look at Disney, we're like, well, I'm not sure that's right. I think from a corporate perspective, they're handling this great. Like I said, there's zero tolerance. I mean, when you're in, when you're out, we talked pre-show real quick. If a COVID outbreak happened at Walt Disney World and there was 10 people that got it and they found out that because 3% weren't wearing masks, the whole thing shuts down. People lose their job, all that. And they do a really good job, Brian, of blasting stuff out before you get there. Now that you got to have a park reservation, there's no walk-ups. No one just walks up. You have to have a reservation to go to the park. So you're being blasted with emails and safety notices and read this policy, and this is what's got to happen. So some of the onus does go on the person to know in advance.
Right.
That now, again, if you've got experience that, well, this restaurant made an exception for my child. And when I go to the grocery store, they make an exception for my child. So I'm sure Disney, the family-friendly company, will make an exception for my child. They're not going to do that right now. They're just not going to do it. And it's going to cause some things like this. But I give kudos to those cast members who were just, the beauty of not arguing in that case too is the winner, because you're not going to win an argument. I don't think that if they would have came out and said, well, let me tell you, sir, the reason why we have this policy in place, if they would have engaged in that banter, nobody wins. So they did, go ahead and video us. This is what it is. But I think your lesson is the best, which is from a leadership perspective, make sure that if somebody's jumping on your frontline employees, make sure there's a supervisor there. That's the job of the leader to take it, not the job of the frontline cast member. And having this sort of numbers where you had a security person and a manager over ticketing and another operations person, that's the way it should be. You never leave people hanging out to dry when they're being just berated.
Right.
Like that. So anyhow, I was hoping that would be more of a happier story. I was hoping that would be more of a happier story. I don't know how that kind of ended up like that. Brian, take a second and recap everything that we talked about today.
Well, we had some feel-good stories. We talked about using your newfound internet fame or newfound stock exchange monies to
yes.
We talked about overcoming your the troop of Girl Scouts who overcome kind of a bad situation to embrace their entrepreneurship, and we talked about ways that we got to bust myths
about change. We did that.
Change in your organization. We played over under, Pete.
Got 3 for 3. Give me one more bell to make me feel good.
All right. Well, we just want to say that we really appreciate all of you for joining us live here tonight or listening on the podcast. And let's go out and do our part this week to be kind to one another and put some more love in the world.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Can't get it.